You know what I have noticed is that you cannot fight something that is hard with only softness, because what's hard probably already has been soft only once at least. And when you try fighting it without boundaries, or with the impression that you're stronger than what you're being exposed to, then what might end up happening is you will just remain a clown and nobody will even notice that you're suffering. So one thing you could do instead is fighting fire with fire, and that's the only situation in which that even makes sense, because when you fight fire with fire normally, all you end up with is more fire. But the way even homeopathy works is exposing you to what you're being exposed to energetically. So for example, if you have like a swollen area of your body, you're given certain substance or energetic like pill, so to speak, that you will literally take. It's just a condensed form of the substance that you take with the similar effect that your problem. So for example, there is a substance made literally of bees, and if you take that, you will literally end up on paper reducing your swollen part, like reducing the swelling and the redness. It's very interesting how, for example, I just reminded myself that if, for example, you're really like sensitive to sounds or things like that, or you're just having like a bad day because you haven't slept much, this when you probably, or if you're a woman and you're in the end of your cycle, you're probably not very hormonally balanced, so you will need like some sources of peace or just tranquility that you can rely on and just get back to. And for example, if someone is like listening to loud music around you, and you have your earphones in your ears, and you're listening to like church music, but your earphones are not padded enough for you to kind of keep out all the noise, then you will hear the beat of someone else that's listening to music, and basically it's not that your effort is futile, but it's maybe not good enough. So there is a fine line between becoming so hard yourself that you eventually acclimatize to whatever is around you, especially if you're a woman, and just keeping your standards high, but also keeping your boundaries and not giving up your standards in the meantime, because standards are not just hard, they also can reflect many times softness, and boundaries on the other hand are quite the opposite. So you can say something in a soft way and express it without offending someone, but if all you do is just have boundaries, then you will have no substance, so that's not good either. But a mix of both is good. And so if you have like strong boundaries, then that's mainly hard when you enforce and apply them, because usually in a safe place you wouldn't need boundaries in the first place, because if there is no one safety, then there is no need for protection. But it just so happens that we live in a world made for environment, and so if you want to stay safe, especially as a woman, then you want to just kind of keep your softness and protect it by sometimes looking harder or behaving harder than you actually are, and that won't make you more masculine at all. Yes, it can expose you to your soft side, ironically, because if you continue yourself as a woman these days and you literally, in the West, you fill yourself up and do things that a man would do or want to have a man do for you or to you, then you will inevitably be exposed to your softer side as a woman, because you are a woman and you have a monthly cycle, and if you're healthy, especially then, you will experience what it's like to live without all those female hormones in the later part of your cycle, so in the end of the month. And then you will be much more prone to, like, being sensitive to everything around you, especially lies and everything that's just not very natural. So for example, someone can lie to you that's not very much in alignment with the natural truth of how the universe is, for example. But to get back to my point, if for example you're traveling alone and you really just feel like, oh my god, I just want to lay down somewhere, or I just want to hide, I just want to eat something, things like that, because your thoughts are distracted enough, then I recommend that you match your environment in a way where you treat yourself as softly as possible, but you also treat people around you softly and with as much compassion as possible, but you also keep your boundaries. So basically you do introduce a difference in the vibration to your perceptive organs. So for example, your ears, because someone is loud around you, but you don't distract them, so that's where elegance, and that's where, like, keeping yourself together comes in the picture, because, like, you can also fight fire with fire outwardly, so you could like express that you want to have the situation change by telling someone that they're literally disturbing you. But if you're in a strange environment or in a foreign place, or somewhere that just feels off or uncomfortable, then it's literally what I wouldn't recommend, especially if it's not an environment that you trust and that you will keep going back to because you feel like you belong there. So if that's the case, people, are not even guaranteed to come back themselves. So it's like choosing your battles, choosing your hardships really is important in these places, in the men's world, because in most places you do not actually belong, neither as a man nor as a woman. So I would only recommend changing the actual situation if you do have the authority and you do have the power. But other than that, it's just a struggle. I learned, and so you can also change yourself, or you can leave the situation altogether. But when you have duty, or you have to go home, or you commute, or you work or go to work, or you have a family, things like, you have responsibility, you can't always just leave. So it's like, of course, the more means, the more money you have. Sometimes you can't afford to leave, but even with people, even just leaving a store, for example, you can't always just leave the cashier because they're rude. Sometimes it's in the culture that people just act more rude than in other places. It's like, it's not their fault, it's not your fault, but it's like you can't just leave. So what I would recommend is you do change the situation by means of partially changing yourself in it, but also partially changing what you perceive and what you get to hear, see, feel, and understand, because you do have some control over it. Even if you can't control it all, you can control something. So that's one thing. And also, I just wanted to text my ex recently because, like, when I met him, he was really compassionate and kind, and he's genuinely one of the best people I know, partly because I knew him intimately, but I just wanted to tell him, you know, like, I do not know you, you don't know me that well, but we do know each other, but do we? Because, like, you know, I also kind of get to know myself through him, and he gets to know himself through me. And so when we are together, it's best. But when we are apart, I only know that I need him, but he may not realize it, even if I'm physically suffering because my body cannot handle it anymore. And that's what strong women often go through, is that they put up a facade because they literally have economically, socioeconomically, they have no other options, so they put up a wall around them that seems to not only protect them from harm by means of them having boundaries often, sometimes more than ideal, but also by just having them keep functioning as a human being. And for example, you have like extremes of that, but like celebrities, female celebrities who you know as one person, but then when you get to know them, they turn out to be someone completely different, and you wouldn't have expected them to be that way. But the thing is, even those people, they have a soft and weak side, and soft and weak can literally be totally different. So I wouldn't say that something that's soft is necessarily weak, but often, because we live in a world made for men by men, and men are still great consumers, the people who are famous or very notorious for something, they tend to also hide their weakness. So especially famous women, you don't really see their soft side, even if it's like something of a softer industry that requires them to be like very feminine at times. So for example, performer, singer, you know, they showcase their femininity, but not the softer sides. It's like misleading sometimes. And also the way that people get famous also is not very requiring of that soft femininity that many people are in desperate need of today. So what I wanted to say is, my ex, for example, he may not even know that I am desperately in need of him, you know, like being around me or things like that. Even just like him looking at me or me looking at him. But because sometimes I am the only person who knows how much I need him, because he's not there to literally physically see it and feel it and attune to my need for him, it's just, it becomes, you know, the truth that sexual sin is still it's the greatest thing that you can do, because if you're a woman, you will literally physically firsthand experience what it's like to deprive yourself of yourself when your person is away. So just because someone else doesn't know that they need you, or that they don't consciously realize, or just because you don't make them realize that you need you, or just because someone doesn't know that you need them, you know, it doesn't mean that God doesn't know that. And so if you are in need, that really does matter. And yes, you have sinned, and we also are born with sins, just like every child knows that they are a sinner, even though they may not have done anything wrong yet. You know, I don't know if you remember being a child, but I don't think every child thinks that they're perfect, because we all know that we're human at the end of the day. But I just want to say, even like promiscuity in a sense is a very harsh, very not feminine action or behavior, and it teaches women the opposite of being a woman, because like sometimes men do good things, sometimes though these men are really hidden, the men who do good most of the time and who really are focused and just kind of closed-minded almost to do well in society, like really just do treat everyone well. They are more like in secluded places, like monks, Christian men, like in churches, you know. They don't just hang out anywhere. So it's like the average person that you will see anywhere. It's like it's your average person, but it really does depend on who you want to choose as a partner, and just casually going around and dating, and not even selecting which app you're choosing for your mate selection. Is like you literally expose yourself to what you want the last thing in your life to be. So I would go to such extremes just for my ex to know that I really do need him, and that how much I have needed him, even if even if I haven't inspired him from this distance so much anymore after he left. But the thing is, it's not his fault, it's not my fault. It's the fact that we both sinned together. So now I'm suffering, and he probably is suffering because at the end of the day, he was a good person. He did not have bad intentions. He did want a family with me. He did want to take care of me. And it's like when he changed his mind and when he said that he didn't even know what he was doing. So, I just want to protect everyone.